the director here at the Pence Gallery, and I am seated in what is the docent area. Normally we have someone greeting people as they come in. Today, of course, we're closed to the public because of COVID-19. So I thought I would share with you a fun little project that I love to do at home in my own art studio. And this is making a wire basket. And wire is a great material to use because basically you can find it in almost any store, such as a hardware store, even the Dollar Tree. It comes in many, many different colors. This wire, it's a certain thickness that's called the gauge. And this is all gauge 26, which I like to use a lot. It's super flexible. You can even cut it with the scissors. And what I'm going to teach you to do is to make a simple basket. I do have some examples out of things that I've made. And again, these aren't, great artworks. I think what's so wonderful about art, especially during this time period, is it can be something that you just do to keep your hands busy. I made this little flower. Sometimes when we're driving on long trips, I'll take a bunch of wire. And these are little flowers that I made that I suspended just on fishing line. And they end up getting incorporated into different artworks that I make. I even made a basket out of these ones and I wove together the little flowers. So you can get really creative with wire, and because it's so easy to find, you don't need to go to Michael's, which is closed. You can just go to your local Ace or Dollar Tree store. The thicker wire can be a little bit harder to use. And so this is made from probably gauge, I'd say 20. So the gauge numbers get thicker as the number goes down, so it's kind of reversed. But one thing that's really fun about wire is it spans a volume, but you can see through it. So it's really fun to play with, and it gives that sense of light, transparency, and volume, even though really there's nothing in here. These are a couple different baskets I've made with wire. One thing that's fun to do at home, if you do have extra beads or buttons, I've even used beads from necklaces that have fallen apart, is you can add those to your wire basket, and it just makes it more decorative and fun. So that's a little basket I made. Another thing I do with wire is, this is floral wire, which I got at Michael's. These two different types of wires. Sometimes it's nice to contrast the color of the wire. And you can see it's about the same thickness, but it gives a different texture to the basket. And this one I just started using a spiral and kind of spun it out. And then I started making these little arms to the basket using green, and I wove them in between this more kind of earth colored twine. So the baskets do have some strength to them. They look really pretty if you put them on a shelf, make great gifts now that Mother's Day is coming up. And again, here's a small basket, two different colors, very simple. This is one using a washer as the base. You can use lots of different things in them. This one I liked because it was kind of crazy lines, but then this little tiny pocket of gold right here. I thought that was kind of fun. And this is one I was actually making on Easter, and I realized it's almost an egg. So you can close them up and make a little sphere if you want to. But I wanted to show you how to make some of these. These are some of my more abstract wire sculptures I've made. Again, they're not amazing works of art, but they're really fun. And I love to just use line and pattern and repetition to give them a sense of energy. And they even bounce. This is the one I talked about with the beads from an old necklace. And this was a really amazing necklace I had from my husband's grandmother, so I really wanted to keep it and use it as part of this little basket. And I like the contrast of the colors, the black with the turquoise. And then two other smaller little baskets. This one I have a little stash of fur in, not fur, feathers, from birds that I've collected. And then this one is kind of a low basket, so you can make these really low. And then I put some little moss in it that I found, and a little bird I made out of a shell, and a little broken flamingo head. So you can adapt these and use them in your art in different ways. They don't just have to be about a flower or a little basket. They can become something more than their parts. The last one I made was the most difficult one for me. If you do use wire this thick, most of the times I would suggest using like a gardening pair of gloves or something, because it can be really rough on your hands. This one is harder to bend. You definitely wouldn't want to cut it with the scissors because it would mess your scissors up. So you're going to use something like this kind of cable cutter or wire cutter. And they do make smaller scale ones like this. These ones just don't work as well, I find. This one also is a great tool to have, a needle nose plier. And it's something you might find in a toolbox at your house, but you can also find them at jewelry stores. And so those are great for making tiny little spirals. You can kind of twist and pull with them. There's my little bird. He needs a little work, but I think he's kind of fun. So what I'll start with first is, I think I will make a purple basket. So these start usually with about 12 to 14 inches of wire, and then you're going to cut it. This makes it easier to use if you have kind of a smaller segment of wire. And I usually start at the end, and it's kind of a crocheting technique. I make a loop like this. So I've just put one end of the wire through the other, and I'm almost gonna just pull it tight so that it's a knot. But of course we wanna keep that open. And then I'm gonna take the end of the wire and put it into the little circle and pull it, making probably about the same size circle. And then I just hold it as I'm making the next loop, make another loop, pull that one through. So now we have 3, and you keep going. At this point, you almost have enough to make a little flower, but what I'm trying to do is make a basket. So I'm gonna leave this little wire here because I'm done with that side, and I'm gonna work on my crocheting with wire from this end. So I'm making another little loop and securing it by going into the other side of the loop. Okay, so now I've got kind of the base of the basket. You can see I have this little loose wire here, but don't let that bother you because you can tie it in, especially with your jewelry pliers. You can make it really nice and tight. And then as I go around the second time, I'm probably gonna need more wire, but I'll get this one started. And I'm gonna start doing it along the top. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here. I'm gonna make the whole other row, and then I'll stop it, and then we'll finish off the basket. Okay, we're back now. You can see that I've done quite a bit more on my little basket, probably about 2 rows of crocheting. And I was starting to make a little bit of a lip along the edge, something to give it a little bit more dramatic look. You can also see I put some handles on it. What I'm doing now is I just took a length of wire, probably about 20 inches long, and I decided I was gonna make it a little thicker. It's always great to add a little bit of variety to your work so that all the lines aren't all the same thickness. And so then what I'm gonna do is just kind of weave it through the top to give it a little bit extra of an edge. I hope you can hear me. We have someone who's cutting down trees outside. They always seem to do that right as we're starting to film, but it's okay. We can take distractions. Another thing I wanted to point out is some resources for people to look at in case you want to see some amazing basket sculpture. You should look at the work of Ruth Asawa, and she lived in San Francisco almost her whole life. She died in 2013, and she has work at all the major museums across the US, and she was amazing at weaving wire, and she made the most gorgeous sculptures. But again, you have to start someplace, so we're starting with our tiny basket. So I think I have woven all the way around. You can see it's slightly thicker on the edge. I'm just gonna kind of loop that in, and gives it a little something extra. Look, it's even standing. Isn't that cute? So I wanted to thank you for watching my video and for coming with me on this little journey to make wire baskets. It's a lot of fun. Again, you can use it to make flowers and all sorts of different things, even birds. It can be a great gift item. It's also just something fun to do when you're at home alone trying to relax. So oftentimes we just need something to keep our hands and minds busy. So I hope to see you at the pen soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.